The 2026 regular season is almost here, which means the return of wild games, quarterbacks throwing touchdown passes, and coaches commanding their teams from the sidelines. A good number of our favorite head coaches will oversee their teams produce a strong season, while 10 coaches are starting to feel the heat of the way too early hot seat. Each year, there are a few coaches sitting on the hot seat with one last chance to get their team to a winning record, a playoff appearance, or a Super Bowl. So today, we're going to take a look at the 10 NFL head coaches on the way too early hot seat and give our takes on each of these guys. Zack Taylor. Taylor finds himself in the way too early hot seat after the Bengals missed the playoffs for 3 straight seasons under his watch. Even though the Bengals team Taylor coached were plagued with injuries, especially with Joe Burrow suffering a sprained MCL in training camp in July of 2023, tearing a scapholinite ligament in his right wrist in November of 2023, and being sidelined with a grade 3 turf toe injury in September of 2025. Some fans and critics believe that Taylor has squandered Burrow's prime years with his offensive schemes, holding Burrow and the Bengals back from being more successful. The 2026 Bengals have an upgraded roster, especially with the additions of Boye Mafe, Dexter Lawrence, Jonathan Allen, Brian Cook, Jasir Taylor, and Jalen Davis, meaning that there are no more excuses for Taylor to make if things do go sideways. Taylor's Bengals have been notorious for starting slow and stumbling right out the gate in September, before finding their footing in an extremely competitive AFC North. If the Bengals finish the 2026 season with a record below 500 or have a rough start, well, don't be surprised if Taylor is shown the door. Aaron Glenn. Although Glenn has held the job as Jets head coach for 1 season, his first season coaching the team was a little rough, as the team finished the 2025 season with a 3-14 record and the secondary didn't snag a single interception all season long. Glenn became the first head coach to lose 7 consecutive games until the team defeated the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 8 of the 2025 season. Not to mention, the Jets defense under Glenn's leadership was near the very bottom of the rankings, even though Glenn has been an impressive defensive coach as the Detroit Lions defensive coordinator. Glenn was also criticized for his poor clock management, questionable personnel decisions, and of course, mistakes in game preparation. So, in response to the disastrous finish to the 2025 season, Glenn cleaned up shop, firing defensive coordinator Steve Wilks, offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand, and over half a dozen assistant coaches, replacing them with Frank Reich as OC and Brian Duker as DC, respectively. The Jets brought back Geno Smith via a trade with the Raiders, signed Demario Davis, and traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick for the 2026 season. If the Jets don't improve under Glenn's watch during the regular season, then he may be shown the exit. And it'll be back to square one for gangrene when 2027 rolls around. Shane Steichen. As decent as a coach as Steichen is, he is on the way too early hot seat because the Colts went on a historic 7-game losing streak near the end of the 2025 season, overseeing the team deal with nagging injuries, including Daniel Jones's Achilles injury. Steichen is a brilliant defensive-minded head coach who gets the best out of his unit while he led the team to a historic 8-2 start in 2025. But his Colts teams have always finished with a sub-500 record in his 3 seasons coaching for the team. However, many stars on the Colts roster are in the final year of their contracts, like Jonathan Taylor, Quentin Nelson, and DeForest Buckner, meaning the front office wants a return on investment before a potential forced roster overhaul. The pressure has also increased as general manager Chris Ballard is on the final year of his contract, and if Steichen delivers a losing season for the Colts, well, it'll be likely that both he and Ballard won't return to the organization in 2027. The Colts bolstered their defense during the offseason with the additions of Jonathan Owens, Cam Taylor-Britt, Arden Key, and Akeem Davis-Gaither, who should work nicely under Steichen and defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. Steichen and the Colts must strike when the iron is hot, similarly to 2025, but keep their foot on the gas pedal for the entire season and stay healthy in the process. Otherwise, Steichen will be updating his resume sooner rather than later. Todd Bowles. As good of a defensive mind as Bowles is, he finds himself on the way too early hot seat due to the Buccaneers' late season collapse, resulting in the team missing the playoffs for the first time since the 2019 season. The Bucs defense saw some serious regression during the second half of 2025, which is not a good look for Bowles, whose coaching specialty is defense, resulting in fans being frustrated at Bowles for refusing to hire an independent defensive coordinator. Not to mention, Bowles and the Bucs fired offensive coordinator Josh Grizzard after the 2025 season, as Baker Mayfield's performance declined due to injuries and the offense not finding any rhythm in the second half of the season. The Bucs retooled their roster with younger additions like Kamon Hall, Miles Kilbrew, Chase Lucas, Ifatu Melifonwu, Raheem Nunez-Roches, and Alex Anzalone, while Mike Evans left in free agency and Levante David retired. On top of that, the Bucs are hesitant to commit to Baker Mayfield long-term, as contract talks with him stalled, signaling that management is prepared to completely reset the franchise. If Bowles and the Bucs flop in the 2026 season, then he'll likely have to update his resume and find a new team looking to hire a defensive coordinator, Nick Sirianni. Even though Sirianni helped coach the Eagles to win Super Bowl 59, he now finds himself on the way too early hot seat due to an intense structural turnover, perceived management failures, and the inability to maintain consistent momentum despite having one of the most talented rosters in the league. Sirianni operates as a CEO-style manager, rather than a play-calling coach during games. So when things do fall apart, analysts, critics, and fans argue that the team wins despite Sirianni rather than because of his coaching, and will blame him readily when games are lost. Sirianni fired offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo and replaced him with Sean Mannion after the end of the 2025 season due to the offense collapsing near the latter half of that season. This move by Sirianni and the Eagles leaves Jalen Hurts to adjust to his third straight offensive coordinator, as Mannion will implement a new offensive scheme for him and the rest of the Eagles offense to learn. There have also been reports of friction between Sirianni, the organization, and Hurts during the 2025 campaign, and of course their early wildcard round exit against the San Francisco 49ers, where they lost 23-19. National analysts believe that if the Eagles fail to win a playoff game after the conclusion of the regular season, then Sirianni is likely gone, as the front office won't be afraid to make some controversial changes to win right away. Dan Campbell. As fun as it is to watch Dan Campbell's Lions take the field, he finds himself on the way too early hot seat because the Lions underachieved in the 2025 season, finishing in 4th place and missing the playoffs for the first time since the 2022 season. Now, Campbell did take accountability for the Lions' season collapse by grading his personal performance, stating, "I'd give myself a freaking F." It didn't help Campbell that both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn became head coaches of their own, with Johnson succeeding with the Chicago Bears and coaching them to win the NFC North and a playoff game against the Green Bay Packers. Critics have claimed that Campbell must find a way to succeed without Johnson calling plays by his side, as offensive coordinator John Morton didn't work out, and we'll have to see if Drew Petzing will fare any better during the regular season, as the pressure is really on to fix the offense. On top of that, Campbell has seen some roster turnover, as Alex Anzalone and Taylor Decker departed during the offseason, forcing the Lions to focus more on the younger core. It also doesn't help Campbell that Jahmyr Gibbs is currently staging a contract hold-in by attending training camp, but not practicing with the organization. And Campbell really needs all hands on deck to get himself out of the way too early hot seat for the 2026 season. Kevin O'Connell. O'Connell finds himself on the way too early hot seat due to a lack of postseason success, a front office regime change, and a high-stakes quarterback battle between J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray. O'Connell has earned 43 regular season wins as the Vikings head coach, which is pretty solid. But he hasn't had success in the playoffs, as his Vikings are always shown the exit very early. The Vikings fired general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and replaced him with Nolan Teasley, showing that the coaching staff, including O'Connell, don't exactly have that job security around them if anything goes wrong during the 2026 season. The Vikings' performance cycle under O'Connell has been interesting, as their good years were in 2022 and 2024, and their rough years were in 2023 and 2025 respectively. So the pressure is on O'Connell to prevent back-to-back seasons without making the playoffs, as that is usually a tipping point for NFL owners to instantly commit to a coaching reset. On top of that, the pressure is also on O'Connell to see who wins the quarterback battle for the starting job, as he is known as the quarterback whisperer who can help resurrect either Kyler Murray's career or try to get J.J. McCarthy to improve before or during the season. A lot can happen during the 2026 regular season. Can O'Connell help the Vikings return to the playoffs and actually win a playoff game to cool his coaching seat? Well, we're all just gonna have to wait and find out. Dave Canales. As fun as it was to see Canales and the Panthers win the NFC South and reach the playoffs in 2025, he finds himself in the way too early hot seat due to an immense pressure that he has from the organization to further improve upon his 8-9 record and reach the playoffs for a second straight season. Despite the NFC South being a very weak division, it's honestly anyone's division, as the Panthers, New Orleans Saints, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or Atlanta Falcons have the same chances of winning the division. Critics have argued that the Panthers winning the NFC South with an 8-9 record was a byproduct of playing in the league's weakest division. So Canales has some immense pressure to watch Bryce Young perform his best, as he was hired as a quarterback whisperer in order to save Young's career. 2026 is officially a put-up-or-shut-up year for Young to prove that his 2025 season wasn't just a fluke, and that he can be consistent from here on out. Canales is also handed play-calling duties to offensive coordinator Brad Idzik, allowing him to focus on macroeconomic head coaching duties. But still, it removes his direct hand on the offense, which is his true area of expertise. Winning the NFC South will be on Canales' mind throughout the regular season. If he doesn't win the division for a second straight season, well, he'll likely be shown the exit. Dan Quinn. Quinn finds himself in the way too early hot seat in the nation's capital after the extremely disappointing 5-12 finish under his watch in 2025. The Commanders ended the 2025 season with an 8-game losing streak, which was not pretty, as Jane Daniels suffered a right hamstring strain and a dislocated elbow, limiting his time on the field. The Commanders' defense under Quinn's watch saw serious regression, as they allowed 26.5 points per game. Quinn even had to strip game-calling duties from defensive coordinator Joe Whitt Jr. mid-season before firing him. Quinn replaced Whitt Jr. and offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury with Durante Jones and David Blau respectively. This makes for a huge gamble for Quinn if the Commanders finish the season with a record above 500 and a potential playoff berth. On top of that, Quinn just has no more excuses, as Daniels enters the 2026 season fully healthy and a roster that general manager Adam Peters fully overhauled with the expectations of playoff or bust. So if it's another bust season, then Quinn probably won't be with the Commanders come 2027. Matt LaFleur. Even though the Packers made the playoffs in the 2025 season, LaFleur finds himself in the way too early hot seat due to a pattern of late season collapses, an inability to win the NFC North in recent years, and of course, a brutal 3-6 playoff record. The 2025 Packers had a knack for blowing leads late in the season, resulting in their season collapsing and losing to the Chicago Bears 31-27 in the playoffs as the final straw. Guys like Micah Parsons, Devontae Wyatt, and Tucker Kraft were on injured reserve, which didn't help LaFleur's team in key games. On top of that, LaFleur has not won a playoff game since the 2023 season, and also hasn't won the NFC North since 2021. LaFleur oversaw a staff overhaul during the offseason, bringing in new coordinators, and now the pressure is mounting for him to build a winning team in Titletown and make a deep run in the playoffs. So, if the Packers see another late season collapse, LaFleur can kiss his job goodbye. But hey, what other head coaches are heading into this season on the hot seat? Are there any notable names that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.